Who are the 32 best receivers in the NFL? Who's number 1? Who's number 32? Today, I will go through the top 32 wide receivers in the NFL today from 32 to 1. Make sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. At number 32, I have Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. Courtland Sutton has been a weird player to me because he's very good at one thing. He's very good at one-on-one physical matchups, winning contested catches, jump balls, that sort of thing. But he has kind of struggled to really be proficient in every other aspect of being a receiver, really. He's not overly fast. He is decent at forcing tackles, but he's not great at it. He's not great after the catch. He's not great off the line or with his route running or anything like that. But because of, he's that one-on-one jump ball contested catch ability is such an X factor, and he has been pretty productive over his career so far when he's been on the field. That is enough to earn him a top 32 spot for me. So at number 32, I have Courtland Sutton. At number 31, I have AMON-RA St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. AMON-RA St. Brown really kind of came onto the scene late last season as a rookie and was really impressive. He was one of the best rookie receivers down the stretch of the season and really overall throughout the season. He's a pretty tactical route runner. He's not great in that aspect, but that certainly has potential. He has great hands. He's pretty big. He is, I believe, 6 feet 200. He's decent with jump balls, not amazing at it. But overall was pretty productive last season, and I think did enough to warrant a spot in the top 32. At number 30, I have Marquise Brown, a player who really improved his stock last season. Brown has a ton of speed downfield, and that was really impressive to me. He almost developed somewhat of a kinship with Lamar Jackson throughout the season, and even performed decently with Tyler Huntley in the lineup. He is someone that certainly is very physically talented and has a lot of potential, I think, moving forward with Kyler Murray. So I'm excited to see what he does in his first season with Arizona, especially with DeAndre Hopkins suspended for the first 6 games, so he'll get the role as the number 1 there, and I think that could be a very tantalizing receiver duo next season when they're both on the field. At number 29, I have DeVonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. DeVonta Smith is somebody that is pretty tough. He gets a really bad rap for his size. He's a very good route runner, pretty good release. Overall, had a very productive season, and I think will be utilized more, and I'm interested to see how he does as a complementary piece to A.J. Brown this season in Philadelphia. I do think he's hurt by the fact he's not in a traditional pass-first system, which hurts his statistics, but someone that is a very talented player and is certainly on the upswing of his career right now, and I'm excited to see what he can do because I was very high on him entering the draft last season after a record-breaking year at Alabama. So at number 29, I have DeVonta Smith. At number 28, I have Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. is someone that is renowned for his ability to win jump balls as a contested catch guy, and he's among the best in the league at it. His contested catch rate ranks among the best in the league. His total amount of contested catches ranks among the best in the league, and he's so physically dominant that he is a game changer to any offense he would play in. He has Mike Evans-like potential in that aspect of his game. The only problem with him is he isn't particularly fast downfield, but he is so good in the red zone and on third down in those situations that it makes up for it, and it makes him a very promising receiver who I can totally see improving from this ranking in a year's time. I'm excited to see what he does with Matt Ryan. So number 28, I have Michael Pittman Jr. At number 27, I have Darnell Mooney of the Chicago Bears. Darnell Mooney, so fast downfield, pretty impressive route runner and release, for his sake, but not overly physical, which is kind of the knock on him. He's really the inverse of Michael Pittman Jr. Really fast, really good downfield receiver, solid technically, but just not overall that physical. But for all he can do downfield, and because I don't know if he necessarily plays in as even pass-friendly of an offense compared to Indy with Chicago, he ranks pretty highly on my list compared to Pittman. So at number 27, Darnell Mooney, a player that I am also excited to see what he's able to do going forward with Justin Fields. At number 26, I have one of the best deep threats in the NFL. That is Mike Williams. Mike Williams is a player that has just been really improving for years now, and I think probably had his breakout year last season, and really I felt at times was the better player between him and Keenan Allen in that Chargers receiving core. Maybe wasn't quite as consistent, but he is so good downfield, and he's such a physical player that is such an X factor to a game, and he breaks games open more than I think Keenan Allen does for most of the time. Now, I would like to see more consistency from him. I would like to see more of a diverse route tree, which is holding him back a little bit on this list. But certainly he's a player that is improving, and certainly is a player that deserved to be at least borderline top 25 entering the 2022 NFL season. At number 25, I have Adam Thielen of the Minnesota Vikings. Thielen is a player that I'm not sure is on the downswing of his career because he still catches touchdowns at an absurdly high rate. He's still a pretty smart receiver. He's a very good route runner, and I think he's pretty big as well. He's, able to win at least some one-on-one matchups. But I do think what's left him a bit is some of the deceptively quick and ability and some of the speed that he used to have a couple years ago. That's kind of gone from him now. And I think that has been the result of injuries over the past couple of seasons. But still certainly a very good number 2 receiver, and somebody that, with Jefferson coming in as one of the best receivers in the league, can kind of age out into this number 2 role, red zone role, and still be very effective for what he does. He's very smart. He's more than capable of doing that, and I think we started to see that when he was healthy last season. Also, outside of last season, pretty durable player overall. At number 24, I have Amari Cooper. Now a Cleveland Brown. I'm not sure where Amari Cooper's career is necessarily going right now. I still think he's a gloriously talented player that excels at essentially everything. He's just not really a tough player, and that's what I think holds him back for me. It seems like, and I'm not huge on this, but it seems like kind of a trend with him that he struggles against top corners. He disappears in road games and big games, and he kind of feasts on garbage time opponents or in garbage time. He's a very talented player, and as a route runner, he's still one of the best in football, but he kind of got passed last season as the number 1 receiver by CeeDee Lamb, and in a new environment, one that is not as friendly towards the passing game, I'm not completely sure. So at number 24, I have Amari Cooper. At number 23, I have the always underestimated Hunter Renfrow of the Las Vegas Raiders, who quietly had a very productive season just last season. Hunter Renfrow last season had over 1,000 yards and over 100 catches and 9 touchdowns. He made the Pro Bowl and was overall pretty productive. He was the Raiders', I would say, most reliable weapon in the passing game, and really made their offense tick. He is not very physical, deceptively fast though, great in the slot, very savvy, and overall, even for his size, is, I think, able to get away with that because of how smart of a player he truly is. Hunter Renfrow is a player that will certainly benefit from Davante Adams being there, and is someone that I could even see being higher on this list next year. So at number 23, I have Hunter Renfrow. At number 22, I have Brandon Cooks. We know what Brandon Cooks is at this point in his NFL career. Very, very fast still. Very productive and consistent year to year. Doesn't excel at a ton else, but overall is a very good deep threat, very good overall wide receiver, and is someone that is just going to be wasted with the Houston Texans the more he stays there. At number 21, I have Tyler Lockett of the Seattle Seahawks. Tyler Lockett has been consistently one of the best and fastest deep threats in the NFL, but he is starting to age a little bit. He is not overly consistent and doesn't have a ton else to his game. He's now without Russell Wilson, which I think was a big thing for him. And overall, I'm just not a huge fan of where he's going right now in his career, so I do think he could be dropping off a bit in the coming years. He is also, again, starting to get a little older. But he is still, I think, one of the better deep threats and one of the faster receivers in the league right now. And I think that speed is what puts him over RENFROW for me and just overall downfield ability. So at number 21, I have Tyler Lockett. At number 20, I have Keenan Allen of the Los Angeles Chargers. Keenan Allen is a player that I do think has been underrated in the past, but I do think has now fallen into the overrated category. I think I even felt this way last year. Great route runner and great release and great technically overall. Doesn't provide a ton else, just isn't very fast and isn't overly physical at the point of attack either. So, he kind of almost limits their offense because he is their number one receiver, but he's not really a deep threat. And so that hurts him as well. And getting older now, I don't know if Herbert necessarily fits his skill set quite as well as Phillip Rivers did. So I do think he's on the downswing of his career, but still a very smart, crafty, technical player with consistent production and one of the best route runners in football still. So at number 20, I have Keenan Allen. At number 19, I have Jaylen Waddle. I think anybody that watches Jaylen Waddle for any significant portion of time would realize how talented this guy is. Jaylen Waddle, pretty refined route runner, I'd say. He was more impressive than I thought he would be last season as one. Very physical, great in contested catch situations, very fast, has the deep speed, great after catch guy. Not a ton of flaws with him, really. The only thing with him is we didn't really see his full potential showcased because he's playing with a quarterback and in an offense that doesn't really throw the ball downfield. But anybody that watched him at Alabama would know how good Jaylen Waddle and how talented Jaylen Waddle truly is when he's in an offense that is catered to his success. I'm excited to see what he does with Tyreek Hill. They're both two of the fastest players in the league, so I think being with another elite receiver will help him. And overall, really excited to see what Jaylen Waddle can do in his NFL career. And as someone that I think certainly is one of the 20 receivers I'd want to build my offense around. So at number 19, I have Jaylen Waddle. At number 18, I have Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints, a player that I think some people, specifically Saints fans, would love to see in the top 10. I think some people, non-Saints fans, would not have on this list. Simply put, for me, Thomas had one of the best years in NFL history in 2019. He led the NFL in receptions and yards. I think he broke the catch record. He won Offensive Player of the Year. He was outstanding. He's tough. He's physical. He's great with contested catches. He's one of the best route runners in the league, one of the best releases in the NFL, one of the smartest receivers in the NFL. Overall, very good technically and just overall. The only thing with him is the speed for me, that he just doesn't have that to his game. But look, Thomas has not played in 2 years, so I'm not certain on what to expect. And I think that's what's holding me back from having him higher. But because of how good he was, I feel like not putting him in the top 20 would be disrespectful. At number 17, I have T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is very underrated right now. A lot of people look at Jamar Chase in that offense and Joe Burrow, obviously. But Higgins was really a huge difference maker because he is the guy that when Chase is being doubled and when Chase is the main focus of the defense, is the one that is taking up that secondary role and is still providing the Bengals with an effective option. He had over 1,000 yards last year. He contributed to what was statistically the best pass offense in the league. And overall, he's a player that is very physically talented, I think, and also is just great at jump balls and great in one-on-one situations. Because he's so big, yet he's pretty fast, and he's a pretty good route runner. So overall, T. Higgins, a lot of skill to his game, has actually developed, I think, an underrated rapport with Joe Burrow, and is one of the best young receivers in the NFL today. At number 16, I have DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers. I think DJ Moore does everything at a pretty fairly high level. He is a pretty good route runner. I think he's very fast, but I don't know if that's necessarily to a special perspective, I guess, or a special level. He's decently physical, not overly. He just does everything well. He just doesn't excel necessarily at any specific thing, but he's been pretty productive, and he's had pretty bad quarterback play, and he doesn't seem to get just completely erased from a ton of games. So, at number 16, I have DJ Moore. At number 15, I have Terry McLaurin of the Washington football team. I have in the past called Terry McLaurin underrated, and I don't disagree with that at this point. I still think he's one of the better route runners in the NFL. I still think technically he's awesome. I still think he has deceptive speed to his game. The thing with Terry McLaurin that I've kind of become lower on him with is I just feel he has been a bit more inconsistent than most elite receivers. And he also, to me, there are too many games where he almost disappears and you don't really feel his impact the way you would with a top 10 receiver. So that's why he's lower on my list, but still a very talented player. I love his skill set, and I think with better quarterback play, we would be higher on him. But for what he's done in the league right now, he comes in for me at number 15. At number 14, I have Chris Godwin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Chris Godwin over the last couple of years is developing into what I believe to be one of the better complementary wide receivers in NFL history. I don't remember a number 2 that was just so good at his job. Like, he's such a crafty route runner. He's so good after the catch. He's great at forcing missed tackles. He has a pretty good release. He has developed a very good rapport with Tom Brady. He's the perfect chemistry, really, with Tom Brady. And you saw when he went out of the lineup last year, their offense and pass game suffered, especially from an efficiency standpoint, because Brady does rely on those 7 to 10 yard routes that Godwin is so proficient in. So Chris Godwin, player in his absolute prime. Hopefully we can see him succeed after the injury, which wasn't exactly great for him last season, but I think we'll see him have another strong year when he does return. The only thing with him currently for me is he just doesn't see the same type of coverage that the top guys do, which is why even if statistically he's great, I do have to dock him a bit, but still an amazing player. At number 13, I have DeAndre Hopkins, who I believe has probably plateaued as much as any receiver on this list for me comparatively towards last season. He is a very good receiver who I do not believe is a true alpha, game-breaking, game-changing, elite wide receiver anymore. Not to me, at least. I think he's great at contested catch situations. He's great in one-on-one situations with jump balls. He is not a very good route runner. He just straight up is not that great at it. He is not overly fast. He does not have a great release. He's a pretty smart receiver. I'll give him that. But he's not great after the catch. He overall has struggled with quite a bit. And on top of that, Hopkins is, to me, someone that is regressing. He did not have a single 100-yard game last year. He is suspended entering this year. And he's getting to an age where his physical ability is starting to decline. And I haven't seen as many game-breaking performances in Arizona. So, at number 13, but someone who I do think is on the downswing, is DeAndre Hopkins. At number 12, I have maybe the purely most talented receiver in the league, at least physically, that is DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf strikes me as a player that has all the talent but is not utilized well and doesn't have a great attitude, and that's why he's not quite living up to his talent level, at least last season. But DK Metcalf is extremely fast, he's extremely physical, he's extremely strong, he's huge. The guy has everything. I'd love to build an offense around DK Metcalf because I think you could use him in a ton of different ways, whether that's in the screen game or it's downfield. I think he can do either. I don't think he's utilized well, and I'm not completely sure of his character, but DK Metcalf is so talented that I have to put him in my top 12 despite a disappointing year last season. At number 11, I have Terkant's guy, and maybe, possibly, the most underrated receiver in the NFL right now, Diontae Johnson. Diontae Johnson was really good last season. He was playing in an offense that's not very well schemed, not very well coached, didn't have a very good quarterback, didn't have a very good offensive line, and he was pretty consistently dominant last season. I don't know if he necessarily had a ton of outburst games where he just went off, but he was very consistent, didn't have a ton of bad games, very good route runner, pretty good after the catch. Terkant said he has the best whip and dig routes in the league, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but he's up there, and that certainly helps him in the short areas of the field. He is pretty good downfield as well and pretty good in the red zone. He overall is a pretty complete player. I don't know if he's necessarily elite at one particular thing, and I do think he sometimes struggles a little bit with some of the simple things such as drops, but a really damn good player who can absolutely be an elite number one wide receiver at one point in his career. I think he maybe needs to take one more step up to get there, but he was very close to that last season. At number 10, I have CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys, the man who surpassed Amari Cooper as the Cowboys' number one wide receiver last season. Really fast, really laterally quick, really physical, really good at contested catches and winning one-on-one matchups. He is overall really good at making defenders miss. There isn't a ton with CeeDee Lamb that I really look at as a flaw in his game, and I think he statistically was about as good as Diontae Johnson. I do think he excels more in physical situations. He's about even in mostly everything else except really winning downfield, I would say. He's really good after the catch too. So CeeDee Lamb, I think, clearly on an upward trajectory, could be in the top 6 even next season. That's how high I am on him. And just overall, one of the most talented and was pretty much one of the most productive receivers last season. So I think he did enough to warrant a top 10 spot. At number 9, I have Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans is probably the best contested catch receiver in the league. He has been for years now. Mike Evans is so consistent, so reliable on a season-to-season basis. He has also developed, just like Chris Godwin, a seemingly telepathic connection with Tom Brady in the red zone. He's the best red zone receiver in the NFL, outside of maybe Devontae Adams for different reasons. But Evans is so good in the red zone. His contested catch ability is such a huge factor. He's a pretty good route runner relative to size. He's decent at forcing tackles, or forcing missed tackles as well. But the contested catch ability and winning one-on-one matchups is what separates him from, I think, the guys below him. So, at number 9, I have Mike Evans. At number 8, I have A.J. Brown. Now, A.J. Brown, what holds him back a little bit for me from being in the top 6, top 5, is consistency. I don't think on a per-game basis he is as consistent as some of the best guys, the very best guys in football. But he's as physically talented as anybody in the league. He is so good and such a game breaker after the catch. It's insane. He is the Titans' passing offense. Tannehill always looks for this guy. He's the only guy Tannehill really trusts, and he really carried their pass offense last year. When they were a respectable pass game, it was because of him, essentially. I'm excited to see what he can do with the Eagles as the number one guy and in an offense that I think will be centered more around deep shots, kind of like the Titans were. Run play action. I think the Eagles are very similar. I would love to see him with a pass-first offense, and I think if you put him in an offense like the Bucs or the Cowboys, he would absolutely thrive. He's such a game breaker. He's so physically talented. There are very few flaws in his game. Just really the production, consistency on a week-to-week, and a little bit of durability concerns. But that's it. Love A.J. Brown. He's one of the best receivers in the league. At number 7, I have Stefon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills. Yes, he had a very disappointing playoff performance. You got to factor that in. He overall wasn't as good last year as he was the year before. But he's developed such a great chemistry with Josh Allen. He's such a good route runner. He has such a good release. His deep speed is immaculate. To me, it has become a pretty consistent player outside of that one game. You can really rely on him for week-to-week production, I think, more in Buffalo than you could in Minnesota because they're just overall a more friendly environment for passing games and receivers. And Stefon Diggs, there's not really a ton to say about him other than the fact that he sends out a couple weird tweets every month. But other than that, really talented player, doesn't have a ton of flaws, and is overall been very productive. So at number 7, I have Stefon Diggs. At number 6, this is where we start getting into the aliens at this position. DEEBO Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers is an absolute alien. The Niners offense last season was entirely dependent and reliant on this man. He, on a play-to-play basis, might just be the best receiver in the league when accounting, rushing and receiving, because he's easily the best runner at the position. He is one of the best receivers at the position. He's great in the short route area. He's great after the catch, great at forcing tackles or forcing missed tackles. He is really versatile and is such a huge chess piece and is the de facto player and the main just player in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is a very complex offense, but he's the chess piece in it. So DEEBO Samuel, when they stopped giving him the ball in the NFC title game, that's where they lost. And he really willed them all the way there. So DEEBO Samuel, to me, maybe doesn't quite have the production that the top 5 have, which is why I hold him back a little bit. But other than that, he checks really every box. At number 5, I have Ja'Marr Chase. There's nothing that I can say about him that hasn't been said. He was easily the best rookie receiver in the NFL last season. That's why he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was so good last season. He developed a chemistry with Joe Burrow in 2019 with LSU that was to the point that it came and translated right over to the Cincinnati Bengals. Took them no time to start flying, and they did and flew all the way to the Super Bowl. He's so good physically. He's so good in one-on-one matchups down the field. He's so fast. He's an underrated route runner to me. And for someone that isn't even all that big, he's pretty damn good in contested catch situations. There's not really any negatives with Ja'Marr Chase, other than he maybe hasn't proven it as much as the other guys that I have above him have over a multi-year stretch. But there is zero doubt that as long as he stays healthy and as long as Burrow stays healthy, he'll do that. So, at number 5, and climbing, is Ja'Marr Chase. At number 4, I have Tyreek Hill, now a Miami Dolphin, formerly a Kansas City Chief. The name of the game with him is speed. We know that. He's the fastest player in the NFL, maybe the fastest player of all time. But I do think he excels in more areas than just that. I think he was used a lot more in the underneath game because teams are so worried about his downfield ability, and he really improved in that. Now, he did struggle with drops last year, and that's part of the reason I don't have him as the best receiver in the league. I just don't know if he was even quite as consistent as some of the other guys were at the top, or that I have ahead of him, but still had a great year. And is a pretty good route runner, not overly physical, decently. I guess, has a decent release, gets a decent amount of separation. But it's, again, the speed with him is such an X factor that you have to put him in the top 5, and certainly is someone that is going to completely shift and improve the Miami Dolphins passing game and offense. At number 3, I have Justin Jefferson, who I believe is probably the most aesthetically pleasing wide receiver in the league to watch today. He is just such a fun player to watch, and is somebody that is probably the best in the league at the top of his route when it comes to just double moves and things like that. He's such a great route runner. He has such a great release. He's so good overall technically, but he's also very fast, pretty good after the catch. He's a very good to elite deep threat. He can move everywhere. He can move all around the field. You can play him in really any position, out wide or in the slot, and he'll be as productive. He is so good, and there are really no complaints with him other than I don't think he's utilized as much as he should or as well as he should be in the Viking system as opposed to other systems. But other than that, Justin Jefferson checks every single box. And by the end of this year, if he were the best receiver in the league, it would not surprise me in the least. At number 2, I have Davante Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. Davante Adams is ridiculous. He's so consistent. He's so almost inevitable. He's the best route runner maybe in the league. He has a great case. He has an outstanding release. I'd say the best in the league. He's, I think, a little deceptively fast and a little deceptively physical. He was just amazing as always last season. He developed a special rapport and telepathic level connection with Aaron Rodgers. And there's nothing really to say about him at this point other than I'm really excited to see what he can do with Derek Carr and this Raiders offense in a new situation this year. But we know how good Davante Adams is. I just think one player had a historic year last year, and that's why he's not at number 1. But in most situations, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better player at the position than Davante Adams. And if you had him at number 1, I would not fight you for it at all. And at number 1, the best wide receiver in football, according to me, according to Ultra, is Cooper Kupp. Who else could it be? Let's be honest. Who else could it be after last season? I mean, what are we looking at here? We are looking at potentially the greatest wide receiver season ever. 145 catches, 1,947 yards, 16 touchdowns, the triple crown for the receiver position last year in terms of the 3 major statistics. He was absolutely immaculate, incredible, outstanding, extraordinary, every positive adjective you could use to describe Cooper Kupp. He's so good. I know he's a slot receiver. He is so smart. He is so good at getting separation. He is such a great route runner. He has such a great release off the line. He's deceptively fast, as all white guys are. He is just amazing. And when it mattered last season, Cooper Kupp showed up, showed out. Last season, in the big moments, in the big games, Cooper Kupp was the best player on the Rams, outside of maybe Matt Stafford and Aaron Donald, and he was the best receiver in the league. You look at the Tampa Bay game, 9 catches, 183 yards, and a touchdown, with the 2 plays to set up a field goal to win the game. You look at the 49ers game, 11 catches, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, a couple huge catches in that game. You look at the Bengals game in the Super Bowl, 8 catches, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. The entire final drive was essentially just to Cooper Kupp, and he caught the game-winning touchdown and won Super Bowl MVP, by the way. Pretty impressive, just saying. So I think Cooper Kupp after last year has to be the best receiver in the league. He was just too good last year to not be. Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more.